A lot of that was over my head with all that technical stuff he was talking about. I didn't understand a whole lot of it. From what I get, it's just a really bad storm, and you should get the hell out if it happens.
Hello everybody and welcome to Gene's Reviews from a regular dude, where I do trailer reactions, I react to YouTube videos, I review YouTube channels, occasionally I'll review a movie, but really, I just do whatever the hell I want.
Hello everybody and welcome to Gene's Reviews from a regular dude. Before we get started today, if you'd like to support the channel, check out my Teespring store in the description. I have t-shirts, hoodies, coffee cups, tote bags, all kinds of stuff. It's not required, but it's appreciated. Now, I haven't done one from Maracaibo in a long time, so we're going to do one from Maracaibo. This is 15 natural phenomena you should run away from.
The weather has been getting crazier and crazier lately, and we all have to pay more attention to strange things that happen on our planet caused by Mother Nature. Although a lot of the time there's not a whole lot you can do about it apart from run away. From the most crazy thunderstorms to the world's most incredible lake, here's 15 natural phenomena you should run away from. Number 15. Squall Line. Squall lines occur along or ahead of cold fronts and dry lines, and they may bring severe weather including heavy rain, high winds, massive hail, and frequent lightning. Squall lines may stretch for hundreds of miles,
I've never heard of that,
affecting many states at the same time. They can also move fast, reaching speeds of up to 60 miles per hour. Squall lines arise in unstable atmospheric conditions where low-level air may ascend without assistance after being raised to the point where water vapor condensation occurs. Condensation releases heat, causing ascending air to become lighter than surrounding air at the same altitude. This causes the rising air to accelerate, reaching speeds of up to 30 miles per hour in some cases. A squall line's wind shear is an important factor to consider. In low to medium shear settings, mature thunderstorms will produce small quantities of downdrafts, enough to assist in the formation of a leading-edge lifting mechanism known as the gust front. Updrafts and subsequent downdrafts can be significantly more powerful in high shear settings caused by conflicting low-level jet winds and synoptic winds. They're pretty crazy to look at, as you can see in this video. Before we go on, like this.
A lot of that was over my head with all that technical stuff he was talking about. I didn't understand a whole lot of it. From what I get, it's just a really bad storm, and you should get the hell out if it happens.
Video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping.
That's getting a little old. They do that in every video.
Number 14. Maracaibo Lake. The Maracaibo Lake is South America's biggest lake. This brackish Venezuelan lake is around 5,000 square miles in size. In actuality, because it is formed by a rather small entry straight from the Caribbean Sea to the north, it is frequently referred to as a bay or a lagoon. It is nevertheless supplied by a number of rivers, notably the Catatumbo, one of Venezuela's major rivers. It is one of the world's oldest lakes, dating back 20 to 36 million years, and serves as a key maritime route for the towns of Maracaibo and Cabimas today. However, shipping in this area is difficult owing to the Catatumbo lightning phenomena. Major storms batter the lake's mouth on an average of 140 to 160 nights each year, with lightning strikes occurring 280 times per minute, sometimes for up to 10 hours at a time. It is one of the most beautiful views on the planet, as well as the site of the world's most regular lightning storms. There are a few hypotheses as to why this occurs, but none of them is conclusive. One of the primary ideas is that the neighboring Andes Mountains cause cold air to flow down and crash into strong winds over the lake. However, it has now become a tourist attraction, and it is generally advisable to keep a safe distance away from it.
Well, yeah.
Number 13.
The weird thing about lightning is most of my life I've lived in like really high elevations in Utah, and we would get lightning, but it wasn't really nothing crazy or anything like that. But when I lived in Arkansas, really low elevation, I remember driving to the gym one night, and because it was a 24-hour gym, it was pretty late at night, the lightning was going, and it was lighting up like everything. I couldn't believe it. The lightning was so bright. It was completely pitch black outside, but when that lightning would strike, you could see everything. It was crazy. We never had lightning like that in Utah, and I don't know why at a lower elevation it would be more powerful than at a higher elevation. It doesn't make sense to me. If you can explain that to me, please do.
Global warming. The world is becoming hotter. Both the land and the oceans are currently warmer than they were when
this was a hot summer, that's for sure.
And the trend is continuing. In a word, this rise in temperature is global warming. The use of fossil fuels is the primary cause of today's warming. The greenhouse effect, which is generated by the interaction between Earth's atmosphere and incoming radiation from the sun, heats the globe. Humans have been dramatically altering the balance of gases in the atmosphere since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. CO2 levels in the atmosphere were around 280 parts per million between roughly 800,000 years ago until the start of the Industrial Revolution. The average CO2 concentration in the atmosphere was 407.4 parts per million in 2018, the most recent year for which complete data is available.
Almost
that
doubled.
may not seem like much, but CO2 levels haven't been that high since the Pliocene era, which lasted between 3 million and 5 million years ago, according to the Scripps Institution of Oceanography. The Arctic was ice-free for at least part of the year during the time, and it was much warmer than it is now. Because climate change has become the preferred phrase among academics and policymakers, global warming does not just mean warmth. While the world is warming on average, this warming can have unintended consequences, such as more frequent and severe storms. Climate change has the potential to disturb the delicate balance of the seas by melting ice, drying out already arid places, generating weather extremes, and altering the delicate equilibrium of the atmosphere. Number 12. Submarine volcanoes. Submarine volcanoes have produced hundreds of islands from Hawaii to Indonesia to Iceland. They are volcanoes that are located beneath the ocean surface. Submarine volcanoes erupt into the sea rather than the air. As a result, they act
I'll bet the danger with that would be waves and stuff and tsunamis, because it only makes sense to me. All that water coming up and then coming back down is going to cause like massive waves, especially if it's a big volcano.
Considerably different from land-based volcanoes. Explosive eruptions of underwater volcanoes, for example, are unusual. The pressure created by the weight of the water above them is quite great. Volcanoes generally create passive lava flows rather than explosive eruptions. All along the seafloor, lava is oozing out. The majority of underwater eruptions do not cause any damage to the ocean's surface. The formation of islands by underwater volcanoes is influenced by two primary causes.
Could you imagine if you were on a boat, like right close to there when that happened?
The supply of magma, or molten rock, beneath the Earth's crust is, one scenario. Tectonic action is another. The crust and the mantle are the Earth's uppermost layers. The planet's surface is split into 15 main tectonic plates. These plates move extremely slow all the time. Magma occasionally rises through the cracks, and the majority of volcanic islands are formed by seabed lava flows. These liquids cool and solidify into rock. They build up the height of undersea mountains over millions of years. Some of these submerged mountains will ultimately turn into islands. Number 11. Ice Shove. This event is also known as a ice shove or a ice punch, and is occasionally referred to as a ice tsunami. According to the European Geosciences Union, it occurs when a perfect storm of elements comes together, including strong winds, loose ice, and gently sloping land. Even while certain weather conditions occur on a much shorter timescale, they can cause considerable property damage to unwary homeowners. This slow-motion meteorological phenomenon is exemplified by ice shoves. An ice push occurs when a rush of ice forms on the coast of a body of water, usually an inland lake. Strong winds and currents, as well as temperature variations, influence the ice's movement. Although ice shoves can occur at any time when a body of water is covered in ice, circumstances are most ideal during the ice breakdown period, which generally runs from late winter to mid-spring.
Could you imagine?
In the spring, the enormous...
Could you imagine all the cleanup involved in something like that afterwards?
This mass of ice that covers a body of water begins to melt and move under the influence of the wind. Long periods of high winds along the lake's longer axis, or fetch, can cause the ice sheets to gently drift toward the downwind coast. Number 10. Reinacle. It sounds awful, however, the icy finger of death is unlikely to be pointing at you.
Oh, wow.
Unless you're a deep-sea diver, of course.
Oh,
These
wow.
odd structures, sometimes known as brinicles, are actually brine icicles, formations of salt water expelled from sea ice, but with a sub-zero temperature, such that when the salt water drops towards the ocean floor, it forms a sort of icicle, a salty stalactite encircled by a coating of ice. Passing sea urchins and tiny fish should be cautious once they get down there, as contact with a brinicle might result in being caught in a frozen prison and death. When salt water freezes, it expels contaminants such as salt, resulting in underwater icicles. As a result, the water around the frozen sea ice becomes more salty, making it denser and with a lower freezing point. So the salt-filled water ejected from the ice above forms a tiny tunnel in which the surrounding water does not immediately freeze, and the icicle's increased density leads it to sink to the ocean floor. And so we have the essential ingredients for a brinicle. Divers first saw them in the 1960s, and the BBC recently recorded them, demonstrating just how lovely this remarkable occurrence actually is. Unless you happen to be an overly interested passing sea urchin.
Yeah, if you're a starfish, you're kind of screwed.
Fire whirl. Fire tornadoes are a type of atmospheric tornado that occurs occasionally. They're also known as pyrogenetic tornadoes, which refers to how they originate with a tornado strength vortex similar to a regular tornado. People sometimes use words like fire whirl, fire devil, firenado, and firestorm. Terminology can be perplexing, and even
Never heard of
specialists
that.
disagree on the distinction between these occurrences. The fire whirl is a spinning vortex column of ascending hot air and gases rising from a fire and carrying aloft smoke, debris, and flame. According to the U.S. Forest Service, the diameter of a fire whirl can range from less than 1 foot to more than 500 feet. However, every now and then, a fire swirl that is considerably larger and more powerful than usual happens. Fire whirls, which are more common than fire tornadoes, are whirlwinds generated by the heat of the flames. Although not all fire whirls are fire tornadoes, some scientists now designate some severe occurrences as such. Fire tornadoes, or pyrotornadoes in Australia, are other names for them. Scientists have found key features that distinguish genuine fire tornadoes from regular fire whirls, such as the car fire in California. Number 8.
Wow.
Sea foam. Sea foam is a type of foam formed when salt water is agitated, especially when it includes high levels of dissolved organic matter. These chemicals can act as foaming agents or surfactants. The surfactants in the water are churned by breaking waves in the surf zone next to the beach, trapping air and producing persistent bubbles that cling to each other through surface tension. Sea foam is a worldwide occurrence that varies in appearance based on location and the possible impact of the surrounding marine, freshwater, and/or terrestrial ecosystems. The surface microlayer of naturally occurring sea foam can be exposed to high quantities of pollutants originating from the breakdown of algal blooms, fossil fuel production, and transportation, and stormwater runoff. While sea foam is a natural outcome of salt water interacting with organic material on the surface of the ocean, human activities can lead to the development of excessive and frequently hazardous foam. Due to the process of converting natural gas to liquefied natural gas using seawater, natural gas terminals have been identified as contributors to the creation of modified foams. Number 7. Tornado. A tornado is a violent, rotating column of air that originates in a thunderstorm and extends to the ground. With wind speeds of up to 300 miles per hour, the most severe tornadoes are capable of wreaking havoc. They have the ability to demolish massive structures, uproot trees, and throw cars hundreds of yards. They're also capable of driving straw into trees. Damage areas can be over a mile broad and up to 50 kilometers long. In a typical year, 1,000 tornadoes are reported.
Yeah, and if you ever saw the movie Twister, you might see cows flying through the air too.
In the United States, thunderstorms are the most common cause of tornadoes. Warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico is required, as is chilly, dry air from Canada. When these two air masses collide, the atmosphere becomes unstable. In the lower atmosphere, a shift in wind direction and increased wind speed with rising height generates an unseen horizontal spinning effect. The spinning air in the updraft is tilted from horizontal to vertical by rising air within the updraft. Much of the storm is now covered by a 2 to 6 mile wide region of rotation. Within this area of intense rotation, the majority of severe and destructive tornadoes originate. Tornadoes are not completely known in terms of how they develop, grow, and die. Researchers are still attempting to solve the tornado puzzle, but for every piece that appears to fit, other parts emerge that must be investigated. Number 6. Landslides. A landslide occurs when a mass of rock, rubble, or soil slides down a slope owing to gravity. The materials may tumble, topple, slide, spread, or flow as they travel. Almost every landslide is caused by a combination of factors. Slope movement occurs when the strength of the earth elements that make up the slope is exceeded by forces operating downslope, mostly gravity. Rainfall, snowmelt, changes in water level, stream erosion, changes in groundwater, earthquakes, volcanic activity, human disturbance, or any combination of these causes can cause landslides.
Say goodbye to your car.
In the United States, landslides can occur in any of the 50 states, the coastal and mountainous parts of California, Oregon, and Washington, the states constituting the Intermountain West, and the mountainous and hilly portions of the eastern United States are the major locations of.
Did you see that guy on the motorcycle about lose it?
In any of the 50 states, the coastal and mountainous parts of California, Oregon, and Washington, the states constituting the Intermountain West, and the mountainous and hilly portions of the eastern United States are the major locations of landslide occurrence and potential. Landslides of various sorts occur in Alaska and Hawaii as well. People moving into new areas of hilly or mountainous terrain need to understand the nature of their potential exposure to landslide hazards, as well as how cities, towns, and countries can plan for land use, engineering of new construction and infrastructure, and other measures to reduce the cost of living with landslides. Although many landslides have physical causes that cannot be eliminated, geology research, sound engineering techniques, and efficient enforcement of land use management rules can help to decrease landslide dangers. Number 5. Lightning strike. An electric discharge between the atmosphere and the Earth is known as a lightning strike or lightning bolt. Cloud-to-ground lightning is a type of lightning that originates in a cumulonimbus cloud and ends on the ground. Ground-to-cloud lightning is a less common form of strike that involves upward propagating lightning that starts from a tall grounded object and travels into the clouds.
So most of it starts up
Strikes
and strikes
between
down.
the troposphere and earthbound objects account for around 69% of all lightning occurrences globally. A single lightning strike is referred to as a flash, which is a complicated multi-stage process with elements that are still unknown. Most computer-generated flashes only hit one physical spot, which is referred to as a termination. The principal conducting channel, the brilliant coursing lightning that can be seen and is referred to as a strike, is only approximately 1 inch in diameter, although it seems considerably bigger to the human eye and in pictures due to its extraordinary brightness. Although most lightning discharges are miles long, certain forms of horizontal discharges may be tens of miles long. Only a fraction of a second passes between the beginning and end of the flash. Lightning strikes are a major source of forest fires in sparsely inhabited places such as the Russian Far East and Siberia. Number 4. Wildfire. A
lot of those
wildfire,
last
also
summer.
known as a forest fire, vegetation fire, grass fire, peat fire, bush fire in Australia, or hill fire, is an uncontrolled fire that often occurs in wildland regions but can also destroy buildings or agricultural resources. Wildfires frequently go unseen at first, but they swiftly spread, burning bush, trees, and houses. Lightning, human negligence, arson, volcano eruption, and pyroclastic cloud from an active volcano are all common causes of wildfires. Heat waves, droughts, and cyclical climate shifts like El Nino can all significantly increase the danger of wildfires.
I've seen some
However,
pretty crazy
people are
footage.
responsible for more
I've seen some pretty crazy footage of people driving out through them, trying to get out of there.
than 4 out of every 5 wildfires. Wildfires may occur any place, although they are more prevalent in the United States and Canada's wooded areas. They are also susceptible in many parts of the planet, including majority of Australia's vegetated areas and the western Cape of South Africa. The temperatures are sufficiently wet to support tree development, although there are long periods of dry, scorching weather. During the summer and fall, as well as during droughts, when fallen branches, leaves, and other materials dry out and become very combustible, fires are more common. In grasslands and scrublands, wildfires are also prevalent. Number 3.
That's crazy to think that someone could flip a cigarette out the window and cause all of that destruction.
Waterspouts. Fair weather waterspouts and tornadic waterspouts are the 2 types of waterspouts. Tornadoes that develop over water or travel from land to water are known as tornadic waterspouts. They are similar to land tornadoes in appearance, they're linked to severe thunderstorms, and they're frequently accompanied by high winds and waves, huge hail, and hazardous lightning. The dark, flat base of a line of forming cumulus clouds is where fair weather waterspouts generally occur. Thunderstorms aren't usually connected with this sort of waterspout. In a thunderstorm, tornadic waterspouts form on the water's surface and move upward, whereas fair weather
That's what I was
waterspouts form
wondering.
on the water's surface and move upward. A fair weather waterspout is nearly mature by the time the funnel appears. In mild wind circumstances, fair weather waterspouts develop and travel relatively little. The National Weather Service issues a tornado warning if a waterspout reaches on shore, as some of them may inflict considerable damage and injury to humans. When they reach landfall, fair weather waterspouts usually dissipate quickly and rarely penetrate far inland. Number 2. Avalanches.
I was
A
thinking
mass
I
of
was going
snow
to come up.
slides swiftly down an inclined slope,
But they
such as a
mentioned the
hillside
water
or
or
building's
the
roof, causing an
landslides.
avalanche. Natural causes such as precipitation, drifting snow, abrupt temperature fluctuations, and human activity can all
That
cause
building's
avalanches.
gone.
They are among the most significant dangers to human life and property in hilly terrain. Avalanches are sometimes known as snowslides. When the stress of gravity and/or an applied weight, such as a skier, surpasses the strength of the snow cover, an avalanche occurs. The strength of snow is generated from the
You'd be a
connections that
goner if
exist
you were skiing
between
in
the
front of
grains.
that.
The majority of avalanches happen in the backcountry away from established ski slopes. Avalanches start on slopes of 30 to 45 degrees in 90% of cases, and 25 to 50 degrees in 98% of cases. Avalanches are most likely to occur on slopes above the timberline that are exposed to the prevailing winds. Avalanches can, however, occur on small slopes well below the timberline, such as in gullies, road cuts, and small tree gaps. Avalanches can be prevented by dense trees anchoring the snow to steep slopes, but they can also be released and travel through a fairly deep forest. Number 1. Milky Sea Phenomenon. Mariners have told tales of a strange occurrence that transpires far out on the open sea for hundreds of years. They've described being surprised to see miles and miles of pale, milky, luminous waters reaching as far as the eye can see. Most people rejected reports of the Milky Sea as tall tales or figments of delirious, land-starved sailors' minds, since they couldn't come up with a valid explanation for this odd phenomena. Scientists had to figure out what was creating the Milky Sea after determining it wasn't only the work of sailors with vivid imaginations. Water samples taken from the Western Arabian Sea during a 3-day Milky Sea event in 1985 benefited them.
So why is that dangerous?
The presence of Vibrio harveyi, a kind of bioluminescent bacterium, was detected in these samples. Unlike dinoflagellates, which utilize their strong light to frighten predators away, bioluminescent bacteria may employ light to lure fish. Because their favorite area to dwell is within a fish's stomach, they prefer to be ingested. Because these small bacteria emit such a weak light on their own, they must congregate in order to have much of an impact. When their numbers rise to a tremendous quantity, think 40 billion trillion, their aggregate light can expand to gigantic Milky Sea proportions. Scientists aim to continue studying the Milky Sea phenomena with the help of satellite systems like the DMSP. They're hoping to learn more about the science behind this mysterious and otherworldly sight. Have you ever had to run from nature? What's the scariest weather you've ever seen? Let us know.
Scary, well, I wasn't really scared, I guess, but when I lived in Arkansas, I was driving to work one night, and I heard the tornado sirens going off, and when I got to work, they just took us all into the back room. Customers and everything. That's when I was working at Walmart. And then it passed, and we went to work. But it didn't hit where we were at too bad. But then when we moved from Arkansas back to Utah, we wasn't home only a couple months, and a massive tornado hit the town that I was living in. I guess it really damaged the front porch of the house we were renting, and there were casualties in it. It destroyed the town that I was living in. Took the grocery store out and all kinds of stuff. Now it's time for the joke of the day. You know, my family has a genetic predisposition for diarrhea. Runs in our genes.
Thank you, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hashtag #MeanGene, all that fun stuff. And if you like this video, tell all your friends, leave a comment down below. And if you didn't like it, then just shut up. And I will see you next time.